Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy. It's 12 o'clock noon on a Friday, and that means Friday fish and chips. Let's go for a walk. Today I'm going to talk about good and evil. Really. Okay, so, good and evil, a pretty weighty subject, and I've given this a lot of thought as to how I can approach it and what it means, and it's actually, I would imagine, something that can be debated hotly, because the term evil is almost, has like, well, how do I say this? It has connotations that go beyond the norm. And what I mean is an absolutism. Like an actual evil. But I'm going to stick with it, good and evil, and I'll make my case, and I'm going to, well, I'll give you an example, small example from my life. I'll make my case, and then I'll give you some advice about it. And I'm sure you don't know what I mean there, but let's go for a walk, and we'll talk about it. First off, let me start with a story from my life, and I, being a man my age, I've traveled a lot. I've lived some life, done and seen some things, and so I've seen what I would characterize as things that are evil, and like I said, we could debate that. But I'm going to give you a small story so as not to. I'm at a loss for words here, but I'm going to give you a small story from my life that kind of describes it in a way, kind of, sort of, and I'll try to make my case. Long time ago, many years ago, I had a pair of guinea pigs, and a boy and a girl, and they had babies, and if I remember correctly, they had 6 babies, and those babies were doing great. They were starting to grow up, get a little bigger, and one morning I wake up, and there are 5 babies and 1 dead baby, and I was like, oh wow, this is terrible, what happened? Sometimes it happens, right? So I buried that baby and went on. A few days later, I get up in the morning, and there are 4 guinea pig babies and 1 dead one. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So now we've noticed a pattern, right? Well, anyway, it was a few nights later that I get up in the middle of the night for something to eat or to go to the bathroom or something. And what do I see? But my cat is in the guinea pig cage. And it looks at me with shock, like, oh, I'm busted. You have so caught me. It just looked at me like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. So I solved the case at the expense of 2 baby guinea pigs. I solved the case of the dying guinea pigs. And this brings up a bunch of different things, because, that cat I had that many years ago was, it was not a good cat. It was a troubled cat, and it always gave me trouble with a lot of different things in terms of, I don't know how to say it, but not respecting anything else but itself, not, skirting and breaking the rules and doing things like that. And the fact that, it only snuck in the tank at night when everyone was sleeping, because it knew it was wrong. It didn't go in there during the day when people were watching, right? It went in there late at night when everything was quiet and it could get away with it. Now, I mean, it's pretty strong to say the cat was evil. It's not really what I'm saying, but I'm not. It's just a cat, and partially, it's subject to its, innate, what would you call it? Its innate properties or instincts, and as are humans, But what it does show is, that whole little example does show that, if we kind of look at evil as being a shortcutting, a way to derive resources or gain benefit in a way that others don't or won't, or in a hurtful way, right? And that's what the cat was doing, and it knew it wasn't supposed to. And so, that happens with people too. People will try to, not everybody, but some will specifically try to find a way to gain resources in a way that's hurtful, that's unfair, I guess, if I could use that term. It's a difficult, moral area that we're talking about here, and not look back, just take and hurt and do things, that's destructive in many, many ways, and and that's born out of a few different things. There's a variety of reasons for that, other than the absolute universe value of evil, right? But it's a manifestation of it. So, what do I want to say? So, what do you do? What do you do when you're faced with evil? Well, that's a little bit tricky because, like, I've wrestled with ethics and values and morals and evil and good and evil my whole life, pretty much. It's a constant thing that I think about. I think about it a lot. I shouldn't say constant, but it's something I've given a lot of thought to in my life. And, like, let me give you an example. Not from my life, but let me just say, like, somebody does you wrong, right? And so your instinct is, well, they did me wrong. They cheated or broke the rules or did something bad. I can do it. That gives me the right to do it too. But it doesn't. It really doesn't. If somebody does you wrong or behaves in a way that's untrustworthy or immoral or dishonest or hurtful, it doesn't give you the right to do the same. It really doesn't. And that's good. Right? But there is a lesson in that you hopefully you learn from that example, and then realize that sometimes you have to take measures to protect yourself. It's kind of like internet scams. Because if you get scammed on the internet, which I just heard a thing on the radio, it was like, $1 billion a year of internet scamming going on. I'm like, that's horrible. All these people that are getting hurt, and you might be with me when I say that's evil. It's people gaining resources from other people's honest integrity and hard work, and then doing it in a way that's corrupt, and sneaky and dishonest. They're just pouncing on guinea pigs late at night. That's what they're doing. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to bring up about that. I'll continue with the protecting yourself, right? So you learn from it and you say, well, I got to protect myself. And in the case of internet scams, you have to educate yourself to understand what they are and how they happen, and some of the more common ones, and how to watch out for them. You have to install virus software on your computer and keep it updated, and make sure your firewall is good, and all the things we all know we're supposed to do. Never open attachments in your emails unless they're from me, right? I'm sorry. A lot of people send me emails, and I send you certificates of contribution, which is an attachment. Please feel free to open that up. Scan it first, But so you learn from the bad things that happen, but don't do them yourself. Try to stay strong and keep yourself protected. And sometimes this happens with people. And sometimes you see a person whose behavior is not right according to your internal values. And so what do? Well, I would say you have to minimize your contact to minimize your exposure, right? You have to be aware of the potential for you to get hurt in a dishonest way and protect yourself from it. So let me go full circle here. Well, how much time do I have? I still have plenty of time. So what did I learn from the whole guinea pig thing? Well, couple of things. Like I said, evil behaves in evil ways, And also I learned that I have culpability in that because I did not protect those little creatures that were in my care, right? I remember clearly thinking, gee, the tank is way up high on this table, and the tank itself was really high, and had no idea that the cat could get in there, but the cat did, right? So I put a cover over it. I bought a screen cover and put it on top of the tank, which is what you have to do. You have to learn to protect yourself and to protect those that are, in your care, whatever your responsibility is. So that's that. So when you're thinking about good and evil, my opinion is that it definitely exists. Evil exists, good exists. And I've noticed in my life that, you have a 90% spectrum of people where everyone's pretty much good, and trying to do their best and trying to be honest and trying to make a living and trying to do things right and not hurt other people, that's just, humanity. And then you have, your 5% of each extreme. Occasionally, it's funny, I ran into a person not too long ago that I just definitely had the distinct feeling that this person was in the 5% of good, like beyond good, like just, you could just tell. So you're going to get a 5% of people that are in that extreme where they're just amazingly good, almost to the point where they're easily, taken advantage of and, and hurt, but don't retaliate and don't hurt back. And it's, it's admirable to be that way, as long, in my opinion, as they protect themselves in good ways to realize that they can be taken advantage of. And then in the other extreme, you get your 5% where are just, how do you say it, rotten to the core. I've met people like that too, who will plot and plan ways to just hurt for a variety of reasons. Sometimes for financial gain, most of the time because there's a gain in that, but sometimes just because it feels good. That's a scary thought, and so you have to protect yourself from that and separate yourself from that type of situation from happening, and protect yourself from it. Put on your armor and be aware without letting it modify your behavior, right? Fight off the instinct to retaliate, fight off the instinct to compromise your values, which is kind of normal. That person hurt me, or that person stole from me. It gives me the right to steal back or hurt back, but it doesn't. That isn't good. All right? That's corroding you and darkening you to the other side. You take your lumps and you learn your lesson and you continue to move forward. I try to do that in my life. It's important to me to try. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. The older you get, the more you realize, right? The more time you have on this earth, the more opportunities for making mistakes, I guess, become, right? And hopefully, if you're aware of them and you're aware of your behavior, you can move yourself over time towards the good side, right? So that's it. Good and evil, it's a funny thing, and I personally believe in the absolutism of it. People would argue that good and evil are just constructs of biological mechanisms where that it's just, there's no real absolute value in it. It's just kind of arbitrary. It's just like Venus flytraps might be considered evil because of what they do, right? But others would say, Venus flytraps are just doing what they do. So, people that do evil are just doing what they do in order to, survive, and it's all part of it. And, I guess that's an argument too. I believe it goes beyond that. There's more to it than that, in my personal opinion.